Hi, Eric Wilson here, independent licensed mechanic with 30 years of experience. And in the next 6 to 7 minutes, I'm going to show you the inside story on this 2015 Kia Sorrento so you can make yourself an informed decision. Now, coming in on the right front tire, you got about 50% tread on all season radios, down but definitely not out. Coming behind the front right tire, this is the right lower ball joint, and it is tight, critical, because it holds the wheel to the chassis. This is the right outer CV boot. Now, that's full of grease, and if it was ripped, you'd see grease all over the place. This is your inner CV boot on the right, and again, same thing, full of grease. If it was ripped, you'd see grease all over the place. Important not to be, because it lubricates the axle and keeps you going forward. Now, this is the right outer tie rod, and this is critical because the only thing that holds the wheel to the steering, and it is tight. Now, on your brakes, you've got about 20,000 K left on your front brakes. Down a bit, but definitely not out. Now, your right sway bar link connected from here up to there. Now, that's important to be connected because it dampens the sway when you go around a corner. It's part of the suspension. Now, so brake-wise, suspension-wise, I'm not seeing anything so far, and tire-wise. Now, looking for leaks. Okay, this is the bottom of the motor here, and if it was going to be leaking, you'd see it right here on the bottom of the oil pan. I don't see any. Another shot of the bottom of the oil pan here. Okay, bottom of the tranny there. Tiny bit of sweat here on tranny fluid here, but definitely not an active leak, just so that you're aware of that. Now, coming across to the left front tire, this left front tire, about 50% tread on all season radios. The left outer tie rod good and tight, and that's important because it's the only thing that holds the wheel to the steering. The left sway bar link connected from here up to there, intact, doing its job. Left outer CV boot, again, full of grease and good and dry. The left inner CV boot, again, a little harder to see, but good and dry, and not seeing any, and more importantly, if you look behind there, if you look behind the boot, that's a leak point. If it was going to leak, you'd see grease all inside there, or oil inside there, and that's not leaking. So this is the left lower ball joint. It is tight. Brakes, 20,000 K. So brake-wise, leak-wise, suspension-wise, and tire-wise, I'm not seeing anything of any concern so far. Now, what's this? This is part of your exhaust right here, and the big problem is, nothing wrong with this, but the big problem is that people are reaching under and going, cut, and going, cut, and taking this to the wrecking yard and thinking that they're going to get money for a catalytic converter. Trouble is, this is not a catalytic converter, but it looks like one, and people think, that steel cats are going to take that and think they're going to get money, and they get told, you stupid idiot, this is a resonator, and they're not coming back to weld it back in for you, and you've got yourself a $1,000 repair. Now, if you buy the car, I'm going to put a free catalytic theft protection system on that that's going to stop that happen. Now, I can't solve stupidity, but I can stop it. So give me a call and I will do that for you at no cost, no obligation. Now, following down the rest of your exhaust, it is intact and no issues that I can see with your exhaust. Coming to the right rear tire, 50% tread on all season radios. Now, the right outer CV boot, good and dry. Right inner CV boot, good and dry. More importantly, right here is a leak point. If it was going to leak, it would leak right there because there's a seal behind that, and that is bone dry. Another leak point right here. If it's going to leak, it's going to leak right there. Bone dry. In fact, the bottom of the diff, very dry, no leaks. Your right spring suspension, intact, doing its job. Rear brakes, about 20,000 K left on your rear brakes. Pretty much the same as the front there. Your rear right shocking, full of oil. If it was leaking, you see it dripping all the way down there. All your suspension, okay, your right rear sway bar link connected from here to here, intact, doing its job of controlling the sway. All your connection points here are tight, no issues that I can see. Suspension-wise, brake-wise, or leak-wise on the right rear. Got your spare tire, always handy. And now coming to the left rear tire, 50% tread on all season radios. And then your left, the left rear suspension, your spring suspension, no cracks, no breaks. Your right rear spring suspension, no cracks, no breaks. Your left rear shock, full of oil, good and dry. Your left outer CV boot, good and dry. Left inner CV boot, good and dry. More importantly, no leaks. Okay, nobody wants oil in the driveway. The left sway bar link connected from here to here, doing its job, 20,000 K on your rear brakes and tires. Yeah, so far, now, the only thing I would recommend is that you do have some surface rust under here, but I mean, it's understandable at the, an 8-year-old vehicle. I would suggest you get a $200 oil spray for this vehicle because it will stop rust. For 2 years, it'll stop any rust from happening ever again. And then every 2 years, get an oil spray and it just stops rust. And this car will last forever with an oil spray. Very cheap and very, very good to have. Now, this is the left front strut. And okay, these things again are full of oil. And if it was leaking, you see it dripping all the way down here. This is bone dry. Now, your left front strut, your left front spring suspension intact. So left front strut, no issues. Now, your right front strut, same thing. If it was full of oil, if it was leaking, you see it dripping all the way down here. No leak. And your front suspension, no issues on the right front strut. Okay, with the motor running. Okay, 200,000 K just over, and no check engine lights. Now, no brakes in your windshield, dash looking nice and clean, and the most important part of any vehicle is the AC is cold. Oh yay. Okay, with the motor running. Shot of the exhaust with the motor running. Very clean, no smoke. Okay, now I always check under the oil cap. This is the oil cap for the motor. And I always check under the oil cap and I look for any kind of indication of white goo or mayonnaise. Now that is an indication of oil and antifreeze mixing together, which is a big problem. I don't see any indication of it. And frankly, I don't see any indication of any engine issues on this car either because it's running very smoothly. So this is my estimation of this vehicle, and as a 30-year licensed mechanic, I'm definitely going to steer you. If there was any issues, I would definitely tell you. Now, not only, remember, if you buy the vehicle, I will put the free catalytic theft protection system, and I will put a 10% fuel saving device on your car free of charge. Now, I am your go-to guy. If you buy the vehicle, keep my number. If there's ever a problem, I am the person that's going to help you with it because I am the cowboy mechanic. If you can't trust a cowboy, who can you trust?